Today's stories include Square Enix is ditching exclusives, Assassin's Creed Red has an official title, and is Sony forming a new studio? We'll have all this and more because this is Kinda Funny Games Daily. Yo, what's up? Welcome to Kinda Funny Games Daily for Monday, May 13th, 2024. I'm one of your hosts, Blessing Adeoye Jr. Joining me is WWE superstar Greg Miller.
Good morning, everybody. Over there in the chat, Erdy Cooper says, a Games Daily full of good stories? Well, we ain't to the credits yet. Let's see what breaks in the next hour,
let's get
everybody.
to 11 a.m. before we start talking about that. Greg, how's your weekend been?
It was fantastic, bless. Had a lovely little weekend with Benny and Chen. Of course, Mother's Day yesterday. But even beyond that, just one of those. Ben's at a very fun age now. Mm-hmm. We're past 2.5, right? We're coming up on 3.
No way.
Yeah.
2.5?
Yeah. He'll be 3 in October.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So April. We're coming. He's very talkative, very, inquisitive. You can have conversations with him. So all he wanted to do was drive the Jeep that Kinda Funny had bought him for his birthday. So he busted that on Saturday and drove around the neighborhood all morning long and then afternoon long. And then yesterday we went to the beach with him, Ocean Beach, for Mother's Day, got a coffee and some food over there. He fell in the water, so he had to put on my sweater for a while and be running. We had a lovely little time. And then after dinner, he was like, can I just wash my Jeep? And we're like, okay. So I dragged his Jeep out and gave him...
He wanted to wash it.
He just wanted to wash it. Gave him a little wet rag and he got to walk around and wash it.
Did he watched you guys go through car washes or wash your cars?
He's obsessed with car washes, yes. He is obsessed with cars and car washes, both in IRL and at home, where we have the Matchbox car wash set. And so anytime we get a new car at the store, because every time we go to a store, you get a new car. Matchbox. Matchbox and Hot Wheels, I've talked about this. I don't know if I've talked to you about it. What a brilliant idea. $2.
Oh,
I'm at the grocery store. I'm like, yeah, take one. I don't care. Whatever. It's going to make you happy. Sure, have a car. You know what I mean? This kid's got hundreds of cars now. But every time we get a new one, the first thing when he gets home is go to the car wash and wash it. And he puts it in his little thing and washes it and does the thing.
At what point with Ben are you like, this is going to feed into who you are as an adult? Like, are you seeing him do this and you're like, oh, you're going to be a car dude? Like, when you turn 18, you're going to buy your first car.
It's so hard to say, right? Like, because it's that thing of, like, I remember having Hot Wheels, and I remember I had the ones that, like, you could smash them into each other, and then, like, you could flip the front so it would have, like, damage. I remember that being the coolest thing. But I don't remember having as many as he has. But again, 2.5, 3 is such a weird age to try to pinpoint stuff on. Like, I know I was into Superman. I know I was into Ghostbusters. But, like, I don't know. It's going to be fascinating because still the gateway into anything is the car. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I did a Gregway about this last week, but like, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, the #1 movie right now on digital services, no big deal. Came out. Yeah, it is. I bought it, of course, and I immediately showed him the opening sequence of the Ghostbusters in New York because they're just racing the Ecto through New York, right? And so that he's into, and like we busted out an Ecto 1A from Ghostbusters 2 and built that over the weekend. Like, the cars are still the thing. Like, he's not picking up the guys and playing with them. He will bust you with his proton and his finger. He'll go and it'll trap you. But like, he's still very much, it's the car that gets him into anything. So it's like, it'll be fascinating to see if he is the entire way through that he's a car guy.
You got to get him Forza in a couple years.
Oh, he plays Hot Wheels Unleashed downstairs.
Oh, there you go. Damn.
I have all the assists turned on. All I have to do is hit R2 and then he just sits there and pilots it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Holy cow. My weekend also pretty good.
Yeah.
I've been having
hang out with your son.
I hung out with my son. I've been hiding. I've had this thing with video games where I'm like, okay, well, coming off of Stellar Blade and stuff.
You've been talking a lot about like, hey, I've been reviewing a lot. So like, I'm still working and reviewing, but I'm trying to slow down a bit.
And so I spent my entire weekend playing Animal Well. I was like, you know what, I need a break. And then I picked up that game and I was like, okay, I'm just spending my entire weekend doing this.
Yeah.
And right now I'm probably in the last hour of it.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure I'm approaching just like finishing up the entire game. I have been obsessed with it.
I was gonna say it's Puzzle Poppy. I need the report on what you think of it.
It's funny because we did the review with Roger and Andy, and Roger was like, "This is a Puzzle Poppy joint," and I was like, "All right, let's see," because Metroidvanias aren't usually my jam. Like, I don't get excited about Metroidvanias. I hate getting like lost and stuff. Animal Well is so good in the fact that there is no combat. Right, you're playing as like this small, vulnerable creature in the scariest well full of animals ever.
I call him a potato.
He is very potato-like. He's a potato with eyes. But like, you're not getting into fights, you're not getting into combat, and so like
Can you die?
Yes.
So you're like avoiding enemies?
You're avoiding enemies, and once you get through a room, right, you kind of understand, oh, okay, this is how I take down this enemy. So it's a lot about just learning the environments and learning how the NPCs operate, as opposed to just like going somewhere and then on the way there get into a fight with 10 NPCs. All right, cool. Now I'm dying. I gotta go back and like, I think there's something about the friction of Metroidvanias that can bug me a little bit. I think because this one is so exploration and so puzzle focused, and it's very, I think, just focused in general in terms of, I have the map in my mind. I totally understand. Like, if you ask me where any room is, at least that I've been to so far I can be like, oh yeah, you go here and then you're gonna get to this room. Like, I can map the whole thing out in my mind. And I think that part of it is very satisfying to the puzzle part of my brain, because it is the thing where I get to a place and I'm like, it's doing the Metroidvania thing, right? I get to a room and I'm like, all right, how do I do this? I've been here for 2 hours. I just can't progress. All right, let me go over here. Oh, I found a thing. Oh shit, I wonder how this is going to operate in this room that I just went to. Obviously, that's the thing that Metroidvanias typically do, but I think this one does such a great job of it, because it really is, hey, you have any direction that you can go. I think a lot of Metroidvanias will start off a bit linear and then they'll open up a little bit, but they never... I feel like a lot of Metroidvanias don't do the thing where they kick open the door from the get-go and go, hey, you can go any direction and just get lost. This one does in a very, very cool way, because it is, hey, here's full trust on the player. We're just going to allow you to just go in any direction. And at first I was like, I need a little bit of a nudge. I need a little bit of thing. But as I got lost in it, I was like, oh no, I prefer this. This is actually a way a Metroidvania should be. And so I've been loving that. I think the art style is really cool. The pixel art is really well done. In a era where we've gotten so many pixel art style indie games that are harkening back to NES and Super Nintendo era. This one still looks fantastic, especially when you play with like the scan lines on. I've been doing Steam Deck back and forth between that and then the desktop. Playing with the scan lines on looks fantastic. Even when I get an item, like I'll throw an item in water and the way the water will splash up, I'm like, this looks way better than it should in pixel art. But yeah, I've been obsessed with it.
So where are you coming down on score right now? Of course, Roger gave it a 10 out of 10 on the Kind of Funny scale, called it a masterpiece. Andy gave it an 8.5, said great.
I'm probably leaning towards maybe a 9.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see an 8.5. I think depending on how the ending goes, that might be the thing that will seal it in for me. But yeah, I'm definitely not like where Roger is with it, because it comes back to our conversation of what a 10 means to you. When I think of a 10, I'm like Mario 64. Elden Ring, Breath of the Wild, like that.
DC Universe Online.
DC Universe Online. Like these are 10s to me. But like I feel like in Animal Well, I don't put it as that pedestal as, oh, it's one of my favorite games ever made. But I do think that it is special. Like I'll put it in that special category of, oh yeah, even for me as somebody who's not super into Metroidvanias, this is doing it for me. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I think you and I are around the same spot, at least in terms of what we have to do left. I don't know if we've done the same exact things, right? I would probably land somewhere around like an 8.5 as well. I think it's a great game. Definitely a surprise. Definitely highlights moments where I'm like, holy shit, this is really cool. But as like a whole, I think it's a great, not a masterpiece, but a great game.
Hell yeah. Of course, the crew is going to talk all about the games we've been playing on the GAMESCAST right after this. I'm not going to be on that one, though, but you will have a cool cast. Joey's going to be on it.
Whenever Joey's there, you're exciting.
Exactly.
Oh!
Whoa.
Metacritic has weighed in and said Helldivers 2 is not good.
I don't like that.
Wearing my Helldivers shirt from Gary Whitta. Bug is greater than democracy. That makes sense. That makes sense. I didn't think about the Metacritic. He's watching his people get blown away for no reason from Helldivers.
Do you think Metacritic has actually played Helldivers 2?
I have to imagine if you know, we trust Metacritic so much. He's been usually spot on.
Obviously, Metacritic is compromised.
Well, sure, yeah, it's about bugs, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a bias there on the cricket side.
I don't believe Metacritic's actually picked up the game. That's where I'm at.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think they have. Yeah, Barrett had to pop up for that one. You have something to say, Barrett? Are you hiding something?
No, I'm surprised you would accuse a fellow reviewer in the industry.
Yeah, but they're they're obviously on the take. They fucking got Big Bug in their pockets, fucking feeding them change, going, oh, I'll give it a bad review. They not even booted up the game. I don't trust all these bug reviewers.
Intro the show.
They're not as good as the human reviewers. All right, enough about all that. Remember, this is Kind of Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday, we run you through the nerdy news you need to know about live on YouTube, Twitch, and on podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, support us with the Kind of Funny membership on Patreon or on YouTube to get all of our shows ad-free, watch Score Them live, and get a daily exclusive show. For a chance to be a part of the show, submit your thoughts and opinions as YouTube Super Chats as we go. Housekeeping for you. Today, after KFGD, you'll get GAMESCAST, which is the crew talking about what we've been playing, and then you'll get a stream after that, which is more Pokemon Nuzlocke with Nick. If you're a Kind of Funny member, today's Gregway is recommendations for San Francisco and for Japan. Are you giving the Japan recommendation?
I am, that's right.
Have you been to Japan?
Twice, yeah.
Oh.
Love it.
Can you give me one recommendation? Eventually I want to go.
Man, spend as much time as you can in Akihabara.
Akihabara, okay.
Yeah.
There you go. check out the Gregway. And then also, if you're a Kinda Funny member, you can get the Kinda Funny podcast this afternoon, and it's all about the crew's celebrity allegiances. And of course, tomorrow that goes up for YouTube and on podcast services. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Carl Jacobs, Fargo Brady, and Delaney Twining. Today we're brought to you by the Kinda Funny membership, but we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin with what is, and forever will be, the Roper Report. It's time for some news. We have 6 stories today.
A baker's dozen.
Starting with our number 1, Square Enix will aggressively pursue a multi-platform strategy. This is coming from Wesley Yinpool at IGN. Square Enix has announced a significant company reboot amid tumbling profits. Reporting its financial performance for the financial year ending March 31st, 2024, sales in the digital entertainment segment, which includes video games, rose by 2.6%, but profit fell by 15.8%. This, despite the sale of Final Fantasy XVI, Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, Foam Stars, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Specifically on HD games, the subcategory Square Enix uses to encompass all the above games, the company saw a significant operating loss of approximately $51.9 million. Final Fantasy XVI and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth both launched as PlayStation 5 exclusives, and while Square Enix has announced a sales figure for Final Fantasy XVI, it has yet to do so for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the second game in the company's trilogy of Final Fantasy VII remakes. In its financial report, all Square Enix would say is that it has suffered from an incomplete journey to better profitability in HD game development, and that it had...
Glad they said something so clear.
And that it had, quote, launched many titles, but some failed to live up to profit expectations, especially outsourced titles and some AAA titles, end quote. It seems likely Final Fantasy VII Rebirth at least is included in that. In response to the tumbling profits, Square Enix announced what it calls Square Enix Reboots and Awakens, a 3-year plan for rebooting for long-term growth. This involves a rethink across all parts of the business, but the highlight is a shift to multi-platform strategy. Square Enix said it will aggressively pursue a multi-platform strategy that includes Nintendo platforms, PlayStation, Xbox, and PCs. Note the wording here of Nintendo platforms, with Nintendo set to announce its Switch successor console before April 2025. As part of this multi-platform push, Square Enix said it'll build an environment where more customers can enjoy our titles in regards to major franchises and AAA titles, including catalog titles. The suggestion in all this is mainline Final Fantasy games will ditch PlayStation exclusivity going forward, although Square Enix has yet to announce specifics beyond Final Fantasy XVI's upcoming launch on PC. There's also a shift from quantity to quality, Square Enix said, and a bid to deliver ensured fun. Square Enix has been accused of pumping out too many Final Fantasy games in too short of a time frame, so perhaps this means the release of major Final Fantasy games will be spaced out a bit more. Greg, we've talked a lot about, I guess, the shifting sands of the games business, right? We've seen so many layoffs, so many studio closures, companies not making as much money as they have been in recent years. How does this factor into all that for you? I guess the big question I'll give to you is exclusivity becoming a dying thing?
It is, so it isn't. I think that's the biggest takeaway from this in general, is that they're saying all of this, yes, but if PlayStation or Xbox showed up with a dump truck full of money and said, we want the next Final Fantasy X, Y, for whatever amount of money, I think they would be inclined to think about it at the very least. I think this is more than anything the knee-jerk reaction to Final Fantasy Rebirth, right? Not knee-jerk, I guess. They have the numbers here, right? They've seen that they're underperforming. And I don't know if that's the right takeaway from the message, right? Like, I think, yes, multi-platform inevitably would have helped Rebirth. It's more the fact that, like, who would have thought breaking up one game into 3 parts with years in between them would be hard to carry that momentum forward. You know what I mean? Like, Final Fantasy VII Remake was such a moment. We were all so into it at Kind of Funny, the world. It sold so well, blah, blah, blah. The fact that then Rebirth comes around, there's like so many different elements, exclusivity included, but so many different elements to, I think, that game underwhelming, sales-wise, where it is just so many people of like, oh, well, I don't even remember Final Fantasy Remake that well to jump into Rebirth. Oh, maybe I should replay it. Oh, I never even did the DLC, this, that, the other. There's a million other things going on that I'm more invested in than right now than I am into jumping back into Cloud Story and Rebirth and so on and so forth. And I just think that title lacked the impact that Remake had. Because again, like I'm I'm obviously talking through rose-tinted glasses because I was part of it and I was playing Remake and finishing it and what was this and I can't believe it's so good. They changed the story in some way that I don't even understand, but Tim's super excited about. Oh my God, blah, 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 blah. And then Rebirth came out and y'all liked it and reviewed it, and then it felt like no one's talked about it. It just feels like that did not have a moment the way Remake had a moment. And so console exclusivity, I think, is a big part of it because, of course, yes, you can make more money having an Xbox, PC, Nintendo, or whatever at the launch of it, but it's also just one of those of like, I don't think that's exactly what did in Rebirth, if that makes sense.
See, I think the dump truck full of money thing is interesting because I would assume that that's how Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth came to be PlayStation 5 exclusives, right? It is PlayStation going, hey, here's a bunch of money so that we can get exclusivity on that. And based on what we read here, I don't think the dump truck full of money is enough.
But
I think
here's my thing is that if I'm not privy to these deals whatsoever, I feel it's just the idea that when the dump truck full of money for number 1 showed up, you're like, what a great move. You know what I mean? It worked. Everybody cares, yada, yada, yada. And then whatever, either that one dump truck was supposed to carry this next game and the next game, or just Rebirth or whatever, or maybe they set the dump truck figure on but I just don't think for Rebirth it lined up the right way. Where it's like, oh shit, nobody bought this game, didn't sell well, and we didn't get as much money from them because we thought it was going to sell so well. I think you would have to have a new disclosure of details, a new deal struck up in terms of like, all right, cool, for this to actually make sense for us based on what Rebirth just did, we would need X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying they're not actually going to go through with this and chase it. I think they are, and I think it's smart. Like it is ridiculous to be a third-party publisher and be like, no, but we're still doing exclusives. Like, okay, like once in a while, sure, in the dump truck full of money or Game Pass or whatever, like there's so many ways and deals and you're trying to stay in the black, but for it to have done all that and still be here and be like, yo, an operating loss of approximately $51.9 million.
That's what I look at, and I'm like, I think it's a combination of many things. I think it's what you're talking about in terms of, I mean, who would have thought breaking up Final Fantasy VII into a trilogy type situation and getting the second one that it wouldn't sell gangbusters. I think it's that, but I also think that factors into the quantity over quality thing where Square Enix has had so many games come out in the last however many years, and only a specific percentage of them are these big impact titles, right? That we talk about, like the way Xbox talks about it, right? Like I've talked about before the list of games from, like, I always fuck up the name, but there's like an everyday day life or whatever, or like Deal Field Chronicle, or the list of Square Enix games that, like, if I can make a game showdown game that is Square Enix RPG or fake, and I can go through the list of
Triangle Strategy,
which Triangle Strategy I think people really liked, right? Like that was in that Octopath Traveler type thing. But I have the Wikipedia opened up here, right? And there's Paranormal Site, The Seven Mysteries of Hanjo. There's Theater Rhythm, Final Bar Line. There's Forspoken. There's Tactics Ogre Reborn. There's Harvestella. I know some of those names.
Some of those jump off the page. Like, I remember that game, but like. And
I know there's fan bases for those games. I'm not saying that Square Enix shouldn't look at those titles and not make them, but it's more so about, I think, the focus of it. Because I would say that about their entire catalog, and then I would also say that just about Final Fantasy. Which Final Fantasy, would you say it's fair to say Final Fantasy is Square's biggest IP?
Yes, but it's always one of those, am I forgetting something that I'm
I think especially now
about?
that they don't have like Tomb Raider and stuff. I would immediately knee jerk and say Final Fantasy is probably the biggest one. And I think even with that, there are so many Final Fantasy titles. In the last 3 to 4 years, I've probably played through 4 to 5 different Final Fantasies, right? Because this year I played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Before that, I played Final Fantasy 16, another big AAA Final Fantasy, like mainline Final Fantasy game that came out only 6 or 7 months ago. Before that was Crisis Core, the remake on PlayStation.
Chaos.
Crisis Core. And then like before that was the Kill Chaos one, and then before that was Final Fantasy VII. So I think that was like 5 games I might have just listed there, 4 or 5.
Yeah.
That's a lot for just one franchise, and I think people need the time to miss Final Fantasy.
100%.
Coming off of Final Fantasy 16, which again was a big budget one that looks beautiful, that it has a lot of hours they can put into it, right? That is fully fleshed out. That is this big monumental release in the franchise. You hit me with that in June, and I played it, and I loved it. Maybe not the entire audience loved it, but I loved it, right? And then a lot of people loved it, not just me. But you get to February, and it is, all right, now here's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and it's like,
these don't feel like events anymore.
Yeah, it feels like you're just putting these things out now, even if the quality is there, because I do think the quality is really there. But I think also when you look at the amount of quality, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth compared to Final Fantasy VII Remake, I put in 80 hours into Rebirth before I rolled credits. That is an open world video game with so much content and so much just like, a premium level of cutscenes and presentations, right?
Yeah.
Like that is a PlayStation first party game across 80 hours. I wonder how much of that effort that you're putting into making that 7 months putting it out 7 months after another colossal, like very high premium game and having them come out so close to each other and them being exclusives and probably not selling as much. I'm sure that comes back to them and go, oh, well, why would
our arithmetic is way off?
Yeah, like our math here is very wrong. We gotta readjust for all of this.
Yeah, if we're gonna put this much time into these games, they need to sell. They need to move units, and when you limit it to one platform, of course, you're not gonna get nearly as much as you could.
Yeah. So what do you think then happens with Final Fantasy VII Remake?
Interesting question, right? Like, how far out is that game? And what is the deal with PlayStation? Like, what is the deal? Because did Remake ever come to Xbox? I don't even remember. No, right? I would say
so.
no.
It came to PC.
Yeah. So you figure maybe depending on whatever the agreement they've struck on, maybe they can put them all together on Xbox at that time. Put out the entire thing ported to Xbox. But I would doubt it. I would think you're locked into that. I would think that whatever the agreement is you launched with PlayStation, especially if Remake #1 still isn't out, then it's probably locked in. The Remake has to be that way.
Yeah, I think by the time we get there, I wouldn't be surprised if they had already ported Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth onto Xbox. Yeah. And then Final Fantasy the third remake ends up just being multi-platform. I think for sure Final Fantasy 17 is multi-platform. I would be shocked based on this.
100% based on this. Yeah. I think that's if you could do it where you're starting from ground zero, you know what I mean, starting from scratch with these, then I think you're going to be for sure multi-platform.
And then like based on the tone of a lot of the story, right? Them talking about the like one of their Final Fantasy VII Rebirth having an incomplete journey to better profitability in the HD game development, and then them just talking about like the amount of titles that they've launched. I wonder what that does for their catalog as a whole, because I think I would like a refocused Square Enix. Like I read through this and I'm like, it sounds like you guys are aiming this in the right direction in terms of the ways we need to change.
Yeah.
Because again, I don't need a gigantic Final Fantasy game once a year.
Well, according to Del Walker in the Super Chats, you won't get it. Del Walker Super Chats, of course, Del, a friend of the show and, of course, a video game developer. Games made on proprietary engines are more difficult to adapt to multi-platform, so expect some Square games to take longer to make now. ... Frowny face. But again, to your point, cool.
Yeah.
If you spread them out, let them breathe, let them be events, right? Especially big Final Fantasy ones, especially Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, that's the thing is I also think for Square Enix, you're not lacking the big IPs out there. I think by the time we get around to Kingdom Hearts, like a Kingdom Hearts and a Final Fantasy shouldn't come out like anywhere close to each other.
Yeah.
Like any of your big games, honestly, shouldn't come out that close to each other. And so I think the more you spread that out, like you have enough titles, even though for the ones that are coming up, if I look up the Wikipedia, right, like you have Kingdom Hearts 4, you have Dragon Quest 12, which apparently is announced. You have the Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake, and you have Visions of Mana. And then after, like aside from those, you don't have much announced. I hope it kind of stays that way, right? I'm sure they're gonna show up at E3 and announce a couple more titles.
SGF, sir.
They're gonna show up at SGF and announce a couple more titles. But yeah, I hope we don't get to the place where it is. I'm reading through a list and half these games sound made up, or one of these big games is a Forspoken that people don't really have hope for, right? Like I think there needs to be a better balance there.
Shout out to those who announcing their plan and giving the title. Square Enix reboots and awakens. You know what I mean? That sounds like he presented at E3 or put a subtitle on it. I like that. 3-year plan, rebooting long-term growth. All right, let's see what's up.
I want to bring in another super chat from Optimus Prime, who says, never sat right with me that Square Enix put out the Final Fantasy 13 trilogy, all the 3D legacy Final Fantasies, FF15, Kingdom Hearts, and Dragon Quest on Xbox, and then just stopped randomly. Final Fantasy should be enjoyed by everyone. Yeah. I mean, I think...
I agree with that. Yeah. Where it was weird, where it seemed like, the walls are falling down. And then it did just stop, and it got confusing again for schlubs like me who aren't the biggest Final Fantasy followers to be like, wait, did that ever come out or no? Which was that one of the ones that got stopped or no?
Yeah, and I think on the PlayStation side, I think it was probably a good move to get those Final Fantasies exclusive. People have that like identification of when I think PlayStation or when I think Final Fantasy in a platform, I'm gonna think of PlayStation. So to reclaim that is smart, but also the money has to come in at some point.
I have a question here. It's a super chat from Jumbo, who subs for 4 months. Thank you so much. And says, Square's recent output has been very solid, but it comes with the issue of being overabundance of content. with this plan can lead them to becoming another Ubisoft. I mean, you're putting your games everywhere, sure, but I think this is feeding your audience on the platforms they're at, right? Like, this is in a lot of ways similar to talking about how Xbox is trying to meet you on any screen you're on, right? This is Square Enix being like, well, we have so many fans that are, or so many Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, Square Enix fans that are on PC, that are on Xbox, that are on Nintendo. Why are we shooting ourselves in the foot? Why are we kneecapping our own games and the success they could have? I don't read this as, I think Ubisoft's problem is that Ubisoft said a while back, everything's open world, go synchronize the points and get the thing and fly around and do whatever you want in this sandbox world. And that lost the identity of their game. That became the identity of their games. Mm-hmm. And that kind of appealed to no one and some people all at once. And it was that idea suddenly of like, well, I don't care about Avatar, but I liked Far Cry, so I'll play that. Well, I like the Assassin's Creed, but not that Assassin's Creed. I think having a vision, right? The idea of Square Enix saying here that they're going to go do this, they are rebooting, they're going to rethink across all parts of the business. Like a multi-platform strategy, I don't think needs to be we're watering down the IP, we're watering down the game. Everything will feel the same. I think it just means that we're going to keep making great Final Fantasy games because these Final Fantasy games have been great, but get them to more people so we get more money.
Yeah. I'm also very fascinated by if it affects how they make the games because I think Rebirth is fantastic. I don't think my favorite parts of Rebirth though are more of the mainline content, not necessarily like the open world.
Yeah,
stuff.
you talked about that, right?
Yeah. And so like I'm sure with the third, whatever is after remake, may follow up on the open world structure of it. But I wonder if there's a conversation of linear. Hey, yeah, let's make this leaner instead of 80 hours. What if this is a 30 or 40 hour game, or what if this could be a 25-hour thing, or if it fits the narrative again? I don't know how I don't know if a third Final Fantasy VII remake needs to be open world. Chat can tell me because I've not made it that far in the game. But like, I think you could stand to benefit from that, or at least maybe not as much shit as was in Rebirth, you know? And so
it's interesting too, right? Where like one of the things we've glossed over here, right? As part of this multi-platform push, Square Enix said it will build an environment where more customers can enjoy our titles in regards to major franchises and AAA titles, including catalog titles. Meaning that all like back to the question we had earlier here of how weird it was from Onimus Prime, right? Of like, I could see another giant drop of all of these Final Fantasy games that you didn't have on Xbox or Nintendo are going to be there.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Maybe for Switch's launch.
Greg, let's move on. Story number 2, Assassin's Creed Red is now Assassin's Creed Shadows. This comes from a tweet from Ubisoft. Oh, you don't like Assassin's Creed Shadows?
Let's see.
Ubisoft tweets, Assassin's Creed codename Red becomes Assassin's Creed Shadows. Tune in for the official cinematic world premiere trailer on May 15th at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Hashtag Assassin's Creed Shadows. And then they have like a little promotional thing talking about there's like Assassin's Creed Shadows like structure, and then under it is like a thing talking about the reveal trailer.
It seems to be like a, what is it? like a
Hourglass.
Hourglass, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of
that's cool.
May 15th there. That's nice.
Oh yeah, and it's probably pouring down to the time. That's cool. So you don't like Shadows?
You don't like? I really like Shadows.
Yeah.
Here's my problem.
Because it's gonna be like, oh, I'm a samurai, but I'm in the shadows. And
yeah. So I'm not.
And assassins are all about hiding in the shadows.
You know what
You're
I mean?
just
Like,
mad that it's not Cassandra. Just admit it.
No, not at all. I can't fucking wait for this. This is. I with all due respect to Square Enix and their great catalog of games, fuck them. This is my story number 1 of the day. I can't wait for this fucking game. I can't wait for this reveal trailer. I assume we got to look into how we want to handle this. Am I going to say, am I not going to watch it and then I'll just react to it on Games Daily? Or are we going to do a live reaction on AM? We got to figure that out because that's big news right there. That's a big thing for me. All right. Barrett, you got to be that. Yeah,
I would say live react on Games Daily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I can wait for you, Greg.
All right, I'll wait for you too.
We can do it together.
Okay. Don't look at anything. No, I can't wait for this. This is so exciting. You know how much I like Assassin's Creed. You know how much I like Japan. You know how much I like being a ninja and a samurai and all this stuff. Like, no, I can't wait to see what this game's all about. I don't know. Shadows, yeah.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
honestly, when I see it and it's all one, and I'm sure it'll be, and they're gonna have cool box art in the shadows and the sword and stuff. All right.
Yeah.
My weird thing is like, I wonder. This felt like such a weird way to announce. Like, here's the name of the game. We're just tweeting it out. And here's the structure in Japan. It feels kind of weird. It just kind of, I feel like they decided to like, quote unquote, leak the name of the game before the game name leaked. I don't know. It was a weird decision.
CJ Splitson in chat says, "Bless, read my super chat," and I was going to, but now I'm not.
Damn, you did it.
I will, but don't tell me what to do. CJ Splitson writes in and says, "Do you think AC Shadow was announced ahead of Ubisoft Forward next month to beat Tsushima to the punch?"
I mean, I think it was announced ahead of SGF to beat SGF to the punch. I mean, like everyone is going to be competing for your ears and eyes when it comes to SGF in less than a month now. Jesus.
Do we know? Is there a UB Forward for
There
SGF?
is a UB Forward on Monday. Yeah. SGF week.
I don't think they're announcing it now to get ahead of it, but I think it is an added benefit. I think there is a chance that PlayStation could announce Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, this is more, hey, let's get this out. Let's have our own little news beat. Let's have our own cycle. And then also this will drive eyes to UB, right?
Yeah.
Or even the trailer we react to on the 15th is going to be short and sweet, I'm sure, and not it'll be the
official cinematic world premiere trailer. And so SGF is going to be the rounds of, hey, let's show you gameplay, let's show you the loop of all of this stuff, which makes me confident that this is coming this year.
And I do think, I mean, to CJ's question, say a PlayStation Showcase happens the week before SGF or 2 weeks before SGF, and the big thing is, oh, here's the first trailer to Ghost of Tsushima 2. I do think that casts a bit of a shadow to Assassin's Creed Shadows. And so, like, again, I think there's an added benefit there. But yeah, like, I think this is more so hey, this is the big news that we have. And this is we want to have this be the main thing of SGF, because if all reports and all speculation is true, this is likely coming out in the fall, you would imagine.
And you
September.
figure too, like that would be the 1-2 punch of this if they're worried about Ghost, which I don't think they are.
Mm-hmm.
But my assumption would be, with no actual information, is that if there is a PlayStation Showcase after the 15th, or a state of play or whatever, they show Ghost there. I would imagine that's still going to be a very early look.
That's an early cinematic.
Hey, here is the cinematic, and we'll talk.
That might be a logo.
They don't even give you a date on it. Maybe say 2025, but I don't think that's this year. So I think if anything, hey, here's our cool cinematic trailer. Get you hyped for Forward. Oh shit, Ghost, but we're not going to play it forever.
Yeah.
So then at UB Forward, hey, here's a whole bunch of gameplay, and here's what you're going to be doing this fall when you want to run around Feudal Japan.
Now, this kind of references back to the Square Enix talk about all the Final Fantasies and all this stuff, right? I'm weirdly excited for this Assassin's Creed for somebody who I just don't vibe with Assassin's Creed. Right?
Sure.
I played the first couple, they never really like hit for me, and then I'll watch from afar as people would enjoy their Origins, their Odysseys, and their Black Flags or whatever. I think Mirage coming out last year being like more of a lower key, like, hey, this is a more traditional but also smaller scale Assassin's Creeds than the ones before that, and then the one before that being Valhalla, which came out in 2020 at the launch of PS5.
Yeah.
I think there's been like enough time and like enough lack of like Assassin's Creed dominating the headlines or dominating like the fall period or whatever, where I'm like, yeah, I'm down to give an Assassin's Creed a shot. And then also it having the added benefit of being in Japan, and then also like I think this is the one that people have been waiting for. People have been asking for.
People wanted this forever, right? For what they want out of Assassin's Creed.
And you imagine that this is going, again, more traditional. This isn't going to be a Mirage type situation. You'd think that they're going back to like the Odyssey.
This is going to be the RPG version of it. Yeah. And I think, again, that they've been good about spreading those games out and also supporting those games with obscene amounts of DLC and things to do in them, right? And so I think, even with Mirage being there for Barrett to love last year, play a lot of, me to play and be like, oh, this is it. It was also hearkening back to what I don't miss that much about Assassin's Creed. Like, I don't miss being the assassin. Like, I don't miss being Ezio. I don't miss being Altair. I don't miss having the hood. I liked being Cassandra. I liked being, even though I didn't love the game, Eivor, right? Of like, and I should say I didn't like it. I didn't like connect with it as much as I did Odyssey. I liked it. Like, oh, I'm a Viking. Oh, I'm in ancient Greece. Like, moving it around and not putting it into the exact bucket of that, which is what I'm hoping for with Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I assume we'll get. And again, I think having an open world to run ruck shot over, take down what you want, and be a ninja. It's gonna be awesome.
I think also taking this back to conversations we've had about Xbox. We talked about the Xbox dominoes falling and all this stuff. And when we talk about Ubisoft, typically on this show, it is with this like dour note to it of like, oh, what's Ubisoft doing? Oh man, Roller Champions. Oh man, this game's not hit. Like, that's usually been the talk about Ubisoft on the show for the last 2 to 3 years, maybe even more than that, maybe like 5 years. It feels like since Ghost Recon Breakpoint, that Ubisoft has kind of been taking L's slowly and then more quickly. I feel like, and maybe my tone will change when we get there. I feel like this year is the dominoes falling for Ubisoft. Yeah. I think coming off of Prince of Persia, the Lost Crown, that being at least a critical hit, right? And like fans are really digging Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. Them announcing and now being about to release early access into the Rogue Prince of Persia, which seems very interesting. And now you have a fall that has Star Wars that looks good, and then you have theoretically an Assassin's. We all assume this Assassin's Creed's coming this fall. Do you think that this is the start of it? Do you feel like the dominoes are falling for Ubisoft?
It's so hard to say because Ubisoft's going to Ubisoft and make weird decisions, I think, out there. I think what you're talking about is both pro and con, where Star Wars and Assassin's Creed here being big hits for the fall / whatever. Because am I wrong, Barry? Was there rumors that Assassin's Creed Shadow is slipping next year? Am I confusing it with a different game? I might be confusing it with a different game. Doesn't matter because we don't know anything. But let's just say for this argument, it's coming this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think we might have gotten reports of like they want to release it by end of fiscal year, and so there's a possibility of it moving. But people
in chat are also saying Star Wars this summer. It's August 30th, which is basically fall. In the way we talk about video games.
I mean, but like that's still
a second half of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's also if Assassin's Creed comes out October, early November, which is when those big ones usually do. I think that's enough time between those games.
Anyways, I agree that I think that's a strong finish to the year. I think the Prince of Persia was a shaky start. We have seen it time and time again in this industry and on this show that critical darlings and pleasing a fan base is all well and good, but when it doesn't meet the expectation, you know what I mean? Back to it of like, what did Ubi expect Lost Crown to do? Mm-hmm. Looking at the big mode.
Publishing Animal Well?
No,
Big Mode is what it's published.
Who's the one who's making the Dead Cells people who are making the other Prince of Persia?
The Rogue Prince. I'll look it up for you.
I mean, they just announced a date for that today too, and it's like, it's all the oxygen's been eaten by Hades 2. Like, is that actually going to move the needle? Is that going to do a thing? Like, I want the Ubi that's supporting Ubi Arts and doing small thing and making Valiant Hearts and da-da-da-da-da. And you wonder and worry in a world of, well, we need to exploit our IPs if they're looking at these and like, well, here are 2 fucking failures. Here's Lost Crown got a bunch of 9s and 10s and people love it. Great. Nobody fucking bought it. Mm-hmm. We just did the kind of feudy, right? Where no one had that as a game that has Lost in the title. People don't even know the fucking title of this
my
game.
argument against that is that's at the very least there's a critical stamp there. Whereas there have been so many Ubisoft games in the last 5 years that have had neither.
Sure.
That have like failed in terms of reception.
But then back to the point though, do you think Ubisoft cares?
I think so.
I think they like having the little trophy chest and all that jazz, but he's wanting the fucking stock price to go up.
But I think,
which by the way, $4.76, almost back to the $5.33 I bought it at. Here comes the money.
I don't think you greenlight and develop Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown for sales. I think you maybe develop it.
I hope not.
Yeah, I think you make that game to see if there's interest in Prince of Persia. I think that's also maybe what you're doing with the Rogue Prince of Persia to kind of put the seeds out there because you saw the response to Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake.
Yeah,
where people were like, "Oh yeah, we want this." Oh, but like we want it big. like the reveal for the Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake, right? Like was met with, no, this needs to be bigger, better, all this shit, to the point where they shifted everything. And I think for them, it's a eye-opening of, all right, do we need to bring this back bigger and better? Do we need this IP to be active? I think that's why you make the Rogue one. I also think that's why you make the Lost Crown. I think you gear up for maybe a brand new 3D Prince of Persia, and that is the one where you're banking on, all right, now hopefully this hits. And maybe based on the Lost Crown, maybe we don't get a new 3D Prince of Persia.
But do they not then run into the problem that Square Enix is running into with too many Final Fantasies in a short amount of time? Because I feel like with these two launching, even though one of them's early access and is a different type of game, I feel like that's too much Prince of Persia in way too small of a time.
But I think for these two games, Rogue Prince of Persia and Prince of Persia: Lost Crown, yes. I don't think for a 3D game. I think if you are making a 3D game that's going to come out 4 years from now, 5 years from now, like, and you want to use these to figure out what's the hype level, what are people's interests in the Prince of Persia, then yeah, like I see where you're coming from. But I think if you're talking about the sales of these two, I don't know if you make these two games looking for we're trying to make gangbusters off of these.
I agree. I don't think but what were their expectations, and are they even getting close to meeting those?
Yeah,
and that's always the big question and comment about it. So it's like the dominoes falling and whatever. Like it's Ubisoft's going to take, I think, the lessons from these things of when it comes to sales rather than the critical acclaim. And so I do worry then of that. And I think it is somebody I saw, it's already gone now, but somebody's like, man, putting out the 2 Prince of Persias this close is even worse than doing the Final Fantasies, with a year. I'm doing a wiggle hand in between them, right? And I agree, where it's like, what a weird move of Lost Crown is not even, the body isn't even cold yet, I feel like. And it's like, here's another one. Yeah. It is also not the Prince of Persia you want. You know what I mean? It's not the one you're expecting, but here's the thing.
Yeah. We got some more super chats for you. The Husky Hokage says the name change is cool. I just hope this game can fill Ghost's place until we get Ghost of Tsushima 2. And then Arflow says Sony already said they aren't releasing any first-party games until at least March of next year, so it seems too early for Ghost of Tsushima 2 announcement. And then Street Shadow, I think, replies to that one and said Sony never said no first party. They said no major releases for existing franchises this year to add clarity, aka God of War Spidey.
So to double back to the Husky there and talk about no. Who's the one who's saying Arflow? Like, I completely disagree. Like, I think you have to announce what the fuck Sony first party studios are doing. Right now, you're sitting there and you're saying, should I buy a PlayStation 5 or should I just keep with my PC? And you're like, well, what does the PlayStation 5 have coming down the line? Fair games. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, no, you need to put, we don't know. We did a whole
PlayStation Showcase has never been, hey, let's talk about all the big games that are coming out this fall.
No, this is get you hyped for what this platform is. And I think right now there's a lot of questions from people of like, what is the future of PlayStation, right? What is PlayStation 5? We talked and did a whole topic about it back in the day on PS I Love You, and it's been on a million shows, right? Of like thinking of this like MCU waves. And you're like, well, all right, well, we're going to get through the wave 1 of PS5 games, and we did. And it's like, well, what's wave 2? And we're like, don't fucking know. Don't know what Naughty Dog's working on. I mean, they were working on Last of Us, right? And that's the other problem of like, the live service PlayStation Showcase soured so many people on what the general is like. Okay, what are we doing here? What has Sony been working on? What is Sucker Punch working on? What are the next big PlayStation games? And I don't think they need to be imminent. I just think they need to be goalposts in the future of like, oh, that's what we're driving towards.
Exactly. Greg?
Yeah.
We got some breaking news to talk about.
I'm sure it's good news.
We'll talk about that in a second. But before we get there, let me tell you about patreon.com/kindafunny and youtube.com/kindafunnygames, where you can go and get the Kinda Funny membership, which allows you to get shows ad-free. And speaking of ads, let us tell you about our sponsors.
Kinda Funny turns 9 years old today. We could have made it 9 days without your support. That's why 2024 is all about doubling down on our shows and making it simpler than ever for you to get the most out of our content. Our revamped Kinda Funny membership is your one-stop shop for all our amazing content, which now includes on a weekly basis the Kinda Funny podcast, In Review, the Kinda Funny Gamescast, PS I Love You XOXO, the Kinda Funny Xcast, the brand new series Kinda Funny Game Showdown. 5 episodes of Kinda Funny Games Daily, and 5 exclusive Gregway vlogs.
And 5 days of streaming fun with me and the gang here in our newly revamped streaming space. It's going to be filled with a ton of laughter and a whole lot of shenanigans. We'll see you there.
That's more than 20 pieces of content a week from an 11-person independent team in San Francisco. That's a lot. And to get the most out of it, all we're asking for is $10. $10 gets you the Kinda Funny membership, and that entitles you to ad-free versions of the shows, the ability to watch the podcast live as we record them, and the exclusive access to my daily show, Gregway. You can get your Kinda Funny membership on patreon.com/kindafunny or youtube.com/kindafunnygames. Yes, we are expanding our Kinda Funny membership offering to YouTube so people can take full advantage of the platform they prefer. If you want to go above and beyond the Kinda Funny membership to support us, we will still have higher Patreon tiers, albeit with some changed up perks. We just wanted to make the message as clear as possible that the $10 Kinda Funny membership is for the masses to get all the core content people love. Everything above that is very appreciated. The support means the world to us. You all are the best. But the $10 Kinda Funny membership available on both patreon.com/kindafunny and youtube.com/kindafunnygames is where we see the value of what we do.
Kinda Funny is a dream come true, and we wouldn't have it without you. We hope if you've ever enjoyed the content, you can support us for at least a month as we prepare for our biggest year ever. Until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.
Probably update that.
Probably should update that ad.
Probably should.
It's like, again, 11-person. Small business, all right, everybody. A lot of moving parts here. Nobody thought about the fact that the membership ad talks about 2 shows that don't exist anymore. But now you got, of course, GAMESCAST each and every week.
5 GAMESCAST a week.
Yeah. But you all understood it, you know?
I'm gonna let the smoke sit for a second because we're about to get into a not happy news story.
God damn it.
With our breaking news, I'm pulling from Video Games Chronicle here and Andy Robinson. Square Enix confirms US EU layoffs as part of restructuring. Again, this is Andy Robinson at Video Games Chronicle. Square Enix is set to make an unconfirmed number of layoffs as part of its ongoing company restructuring, it told staff in an internal meeting on Monday, VGC understands. According to people who were in attendance, Square Enix president Takashi Kiryu said that both the company's American and European arms would be hit with layoffs, which will happen over the course of the next month. The scale of the layoffs wasn't shared, but staff were told that people working on publishing, IT, and Square Enix's collective indie games division would be predominantly affected. Those affected will be informed this week, staff were told. In the UK, employees will enter into a 1-month consultancy period as per local employment law, while US-based staff could leave the roles before June.
What a way to write it. What a way to write it. They can leave their roles fucking tomorrow is what it means. You're in the US, you got nothing. Fuck off.
Following the internal meetings on Monday, many of the Square Enix's main Slack channels were locked. Oh no.
Always a good sign.
VGC was told. VGC has asked Square Enix for comment on the story. And then they talked about the earlier today, which was the exact stuff they talked about, but then they also say that this is a developing news story. Oh man.
You know?
I meant to bring this up during the story number 1 of like, do you think this results in layoffs? And we have the answer.
Yeah. Well, operating loss of approximately $51.9 million will do that, sadly.
Yeah.
That sucks, as always.
And there's another one in the
And you
bucket
also see them like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, just saying that there's another one in the bucket of all the layoffs we've been talking about in the last year.
Of course, yeah. And first thing to fall, this indie initiative. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Let's just use our IP. Let's not worry about this small thing.
Hate to see it.
It's just also a reminder of just someone pointed out in chat, like, notice that employees in Japan don't seem to be greatly affected. UK gets a little bit of a grace period, right? We need to fight for, workers' rights and employees' rights here in the US because we're always the first ones to go.
Our labor laws are a 2-pack of ass. Story number 3. Sony forms a new studio with ex-Deviation game devs.
All right, there we go.
This is Sophie McAvoy at GamesIndustry.biz. Sony has reportedly formed a new studio made up of former Deviation Games employees. In a post on LinkedIn, former technical director Michael Anthony suggested that the studio is working on an undisclosed IP. Quote, all the people I see working there that have signed up are top-class developers, he wrote. I hope that you can create a top-class new IP with your studio that hopefully gives you all the time you need to create a quality product and not have to deal with the red tape of previous projects, end quote. It would seem Deviation Games co-founder Jason Blundell is involved with the studio. As reported by VGC, former employees JC Farmer shared on social media last December that they landed a job as a junior game designer at PlayStation, adding that they work for Blundell. GamesIndustry.biz has reached out to Sony for further clarification. Deviation Games was founded in 2020 by Blundell and Dave Anthony, known for their work on the Call of Duty franchise. A lot of interesting stuff here. I don't even know where to start with this one. Because, like, what happened to Deviation? I want the story on Deviation.
Yeah, I'm sure Jason tries working on it.
Because they were announced, it was a Summer Game Fest thing, I think, 2021?
Yeah, they came on stage, right, and talked to Jeff about it?
Yeah, and they came on stage. It was announced on stage, at Summer Game Fest, and they talked about how they're working with PlayStation for a first-party thing. Seemingly a live service, online type game to fill in that side of PlayStation's portfolio.
We needed it. PlayStation needed it.
And then the year, I think after that, or maybe 2 years later, Jason Blundell leaves, and we see some of the leadership leave, and then recently we talked about how they've been shut down.
Yeah.
And now that same
back-ish.
idea is being reformed.
Some
at
people
least
are back.
with the leads. They're being reformed under PlayStation proper.
Apparently.
What happened? Why'd he leave? That's weird, right?
Yeah, it's a weird setup of what's going on here. I think there's something to be read, you know what I mean, when you're reading this post from former technical director Michael Anthony, right? He's like talking about getting away from the red tape and not have to deal with the red tape of previous projects. Like, that's a slight at somebody.
Yeah.
You're slighting somebody.
It's like you're talking about the red tape of Deviation's game?
Yeah, exactly.
Because then, what was going on? I'm so fascinated. They talk about working on an undisclosed IP, which gives the vibe of, oh, is it already existing? But then there's another part of the story in a quote where he says something about a new IP. Yeah, I hope that you can create a top-class new IP with your studio. And so I guess I have to assume it's a new IP because that's what Deviation Games is working on.
Yeah.
But like just the undisclosed part of it makes me wonder, like, are we finally getting the SOCOM the SOCOM thing that I speculated on PSL?
I don't think you're getting the SOCOM thing you speculated on. I apologize. Yeah. It'll be shooter for sure, but we'll see what the hell it's going to be.
Yeah.
Good for them. We hear so much about closures. It's nice to at least hear, as convoluted as fuck this is, there's jobs happening. people are getting some kind of shot at making another game.
Yeah, and I guess I like the fact that PlayStation is forming a studio to make it, which I think speaks to more dedication, more like, okay, we want to make this happen.
You want to be here for this project, right?
Yeah.
Rather than you were working somewhere else and then there's this weird partnership and you're like, what the fuck's going on?
I think in our many conversations about PlayStation's live service thing and seeing how it's gone for Naughty Dog and seeing like the bunch of reviewing the other games and all that stuff, and seeing like all the layouts and shit, I prefer a new studio working on the live service stuff as opposed to giving that stuff to Naughty Dog or London Studios or Media Molecule or whoever else was working on that stuff.
You're built for this game.
Yeah. Moving on to story number 4. A new Doom game could be revealed at Xbox Showcase in June. This is Tom Ivan at Video Games Chronicle. A new Doom game could be in line to be announced at June's Xbox Game Showcase. Plans for a Doom reveal at the event were seemingly heavily implied in a recent report published by The Verge's Tom Warren. Discussing the upcoming showcase, he wrote, quote, Microsoft will be banking on some new game announcements, lifting the Doom around Xbox.
I uppercased it!
And the D in Doom is uppercased. And then Eurogamer subsequently reported that it's heard Microsoft has a Doom announcement lined up for the event. These reports coincide with the emergence of a recently filed trademark, which may be linked to a new Doom game. I think also worth throwing out there is last year when we were doing the reports, reading the reports, talking about the reports of the Microsoft court stuff and their upcoming game slate. On there was a game called Doom Year Zero that was supposed to come out like 2 years ago, according to that schedule.
Yeah. How's it set blow your hair back? You excited? You ready?
I mean, this is expected. Doom Eternal came out in 2020, and it's been complete silence from id Software since then. And given what game development pipelines are, like Jason Schreier just put out a tweet like yesterday talking about how game development pipelines nowadays are like 5 to 7 years to make a big AAA game. It's been 4 years since Doom Eternal, Doom Eternal. And so I would imagine that a new Doom game is probably coming next year or the year after, if I had to guess. And I'm excited for that. I love Doom. Yeah. And so, I'm super excited about that.
I forget, was it that it was either the last thing we did in the studio or the first thing we did in COVID?
I think it was the first thing we did in COVID.
Where it was the Doom,
because I remember
Doom
the Doom Eternal review because I hosted it with like Nick.
Did
Nick play that game?
Yeah, Nick loves
that
it.
blows my mind.
Yeah, Nick loved it.
Yeah, that was March 20th. So that was a week after our. It came out March 20th, which was a week after our last day in office.
Yeah.
I remember because I think I hosted that one. I remember reading comments. People were like, "Blessing, you're talking too much," and I was like, "Noted. I'll talk less."
Sorry, I thought you wanted to hear me on a podcast. Didn't know you want silence.
I was nervous. I'm sorry.
Bless.
What's up?
When do we get to feel this with Wolfenstein? You know?
Never.
When will it be our time?
We got to learn to love Indiana Jones.
Yeah, you do.
It's gonna be Indiana Jones, and then it's gonna be Indiana Jones 2. And then Indiana Jones 3. They're not going to call it that, obviously, but we're going to get Indiana Jones games from them from now on.
Indiana Jones and the cool circle. Indiana Jones and the
awesome circle. I think my one thing with an upcoming Doom game is that I think I need something a bit more fresh than what Doom Eternal brought to the table.
Fair.
Because Doom Eternal did turn things up a notch and then also added in platforming elements and stuff, which kind of made it a bit more dynamic and like, okay, I can actually explore around as opposed to just going from arena room to arena room.
Yeah.
I still think Doom Eternal lived a bit in the shadow of Doom 2016.
Agreed, yeah.
And so I don't know what that thing is because
Year Zero.
Yeah, you bring it back.
Started. So what does that mean exactly? Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be something crazy.
Jesus just died, I guess. Or like AD is like, was that the death of Jesus?
Yeah, that's what people said for a long time, but that wasn't what it actually was. So it's a whole thing.
I mean, Doom does have a lot to do with like hell and the devil.
Yeah,
so we can do something with that.
Sure, I'd be down to team up with Jesus.
That'd be pretty sick.
Or maybe Year
Doom
Zero
guy.
is like the year that they go to
Mars,
and then we get more of the like in canon kind of connection of Doom guy being a descendant of why am I blanking on his name from Wolfenstein?
BJ Blazkowicz.
Yeah.
I remember there being a lesson or like a sermon in church one time where they were talking about like they're talking about the crucifixion and all this, right?
Sure.
And the pastor was like, what do you think Jesus was doing those 3 days? He was in hell beating up on Satan. He was beating these demons. And now I'm like, what if it is co-op? Like, what if it is Doom guy, Jesus? Y'all are tearing up all these demons.
Amazing. More importantly, maybe CJ splits on SuperChats and says, "Will Doom be exclusive?" Obviously.
To Xbox?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
I would think so.
Unless by the time we get there, it is Xbox's full policy changed.
See, I that's where I'm at, where it's like they want to exploit their IP. They want to make as much money as possible. Doom being locked over here. There's so much to read right now in the tea leaves, right? Of like, is that still going to be the vision by the time this gets out?
Yeah. I think if Doom isn't exclusive, it's because everything's not exclusive anymore from Xbox. Like they made like a big change in policy, which I think could happen. But I think if we're operating by Xbox's logic currently, I would think it's exclusive.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I could see it coming later in the terms of, Starfield being the big push to try to get people onto their platform. It doing what it did, but not, I think, as big as probably Microsoft or Xbox wanted, right?
I'm gonna stop here real quick just to call it. Jake says, didn't Phil say every Bethesda studio game will be exclusive to the Xbox console? Didn't Phil say that they love creativity and would be doing all these stupid things? Come on, guys!
Didn't Xbox say how much they loved Hi-Fi Rush and its success and how much they want to foster that studio?
Also a Bethesda studio, so that's also a game that got ported later. I don't know if they see Doom as like a console seller, as an ecosystem seller, so I could see them that coming later.
Yeah, me too. That's the thing where I think Doom...
I feel like they probably planned for it to be exclusive, and they've been developing it to be exclusive since they've been under Xbox for a couple of years, but I imagine we'll get a shift sometime after.
Yeah. I'm going to say it'll end up not being exclusive.
I'm going to say it's
But when I say not exclusive, I mean
you know, mean day and date.
Day and date, yeah. I think Doom Year Zero or whatever it's called, Doom 3, will end up on PlayStation at some point.
I agree with that as well.
Story number 5. Marvel Rivals apologizes after banning negative reviews. This is Liv McMahon at BBC. Developers of an upcoming Marvel game have apologized after content creators were told they could not give it negative reviews. Marvel Rivals faced criticism after people playing a test version of the game were asked to sign a non-disparagement clause in a contract with the developers. It said gamers agreed not to make any public statements that could be detrimental to the game's reputation, such as a negative review belittling gameplay or, quote, making disparaging or satirical comments, end quote. Following the backlash, Marvel Rivals said it was sorry for the confusion, suspicion, and frustration caused by these excessively restrictive terms. Quote, "We would like to apologize for any unpleasant experiences or doubts caused by the miscommunication of these terms," it said in a post on X, formerly Twitter. Quote, "We actively encourage creators to share their honest thoughts, suggestions, and criticisms as they play," end quote. It added it is working with people who voiced concerns about the clause to revise the contract and changing its terms to be less restrictive and more creator friendly. Did you catch this as it was going around this weekend?
I did, yeah.
Because I caught it too, and I was like, this is insane. Because the fine print, like Barrett's pulled up the actual fine print. I'm pulling it up myself. Actually, no, I can read it here. In section 2.1, talking about non-disparagement, the content creator agrees to not make any public statements or engage in discussions that are detrimental to the reputation of the game. This includes, but not limited to, A, making disparaging or satirical comments about any game-related material, such as game features, characters, or music. And then B is where it gets really like, B, engaging in malicious comparisons with competitors or belittling the gameplay or differences of Marvel Rivals, or providing subjective negative reviews of the game. This is a contract that creators sign. Yeah. And if I know anything about creators, we don't read things.
They don't read this. They don't read their contracts. Yeah, for sure.
Yuck.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
No, that's very gross. And I think it's one of the reasons, like, this has been such a... there's a million different ways to look at this, and you got to read into what were intentions and yada, yada, yada. I feel like some PR marketing person puts this together, right? Probably marketing person, not even PR, that would deal with like us on a press level, right? A marketing person puts this together with the idea of worrying about influencers, which I would think and I might be grasping, and I'm not even sure how many people got this and who got it. I know we didn't get it. You know what I mean? That we were told, no, this is like a creator thing, not a press thing. I would imagine to some degree they're writing this with the thought of an Amazon review or some other shit like that, or comparing it to I don't know, whatever. But I would think it's somebody so detached from an editorial perspective that they're just not thinking about it in an editorial way. They're thinking it very much in an advertorial way or an advertising way, or however they view influencers, which clearly is not that you're going to be honest and open. So shame on them. And of course, that's scuzzy marketing, we always talk about. Then, of course, the number of creators who didn't read this, just signed the thing and went away. Because, of course, why would this be in there? And then to jump back, the fact that they are addressing it since someone finally read it and called it out as bullshit. Like, there's a bunch of weird shit going on here, but it's like, it would have been interesting to see if nobody caught the line, what that would have led to in the end.
Blade of Judgment in chat says, if you don't read your it's gone now, but it said if you don't read your contract, yada yada yada, then like this is on you. I would ask, how many terms of services have you checked off without reading the full thing, right? And like I'm somebody like I think on the professional side, I agree to some extent, but like there are so many games and codes and stuff like this that'll come through, and it is the thing where it's like I don't think we have like the luxury of being able to call a lawyer for every single one of these things, right? Like I think at the most you give a glance to make sure like, okay, there's nothing weird in here. All right, cool, we'll sign. I think something like this, I could see us catching, but I can also very easily see us not catching, especially if it is, you handle most of the stuff that comes our way in terms of codes and deals and sponsorships and stuff. You and Tim. Like, I could have seen this being a thing where they mass send it to like the people on content in our office. Like if they send it to me, Mike, you, Tim, individually or whatever, easily I see myself being like, oh, cool, it's a code for Marvel Rivals.
Normal ass NDA. Click,
normal
click.
NDA. Let me click,
DocuSign takes you right to your name and you're done.
Exactly. Like redeem, cool. I'll get to that later. Or maybe I won't get to it or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it is very easy to make that, I guess, mistake. But also it's very easy to like not read these things because there is a lot of these things that we get.
Again, it reaches back to why this has been a weird one, where I'm like, wait, why isn't PR sending these out? Why are these getting through this friend code and the streamers and the influencer that way versus press or whatever? And again, kind of makes sense of like, okay, this wasn't even meant for press. This was meant for the people selling their TikTok or whatever. I don't know.
Well, Greg.
Yeah.
Some big news we just talked about. If I wanted something smaller, say the tiniest news I need to know about, where would I go?
You go to the last story, the Wii News channel, where we cover all the small news and items you need to know about.
That's right. It's time. Story number 6. It's Wii News. Starting off, this first one's from VGC. Rockstar could be preparing to announce Red Dead Redemption for PC. That's according to reputable data miner Tez2, who took to X on Monday to share a screenshot of code suggesting the announcement of a PC port may be imminent.
Stoked for when it doesn't work. I can't wait to make jokes about it.
Is there really not a PC port of Red Dead Redemption? Number 1?
That's true, yeah.
It's crazy. From VGC also, a new trailer for Multiverses show the Joker in actions, and also seemingly confirms the Powerpuff Girls as playable characters. The trailer shows off the Bat computer as it gets taken over by a virus created by the Joker. Before the virus infects the computer, the screen shows a number of existing Multiverses characters. The Powerpuff Girls, who have not been confirmed for the game to date, can be seen in the top right corner. Let me tell you, I'm very excited.
This is it? This is gets you going?
Dude, I'm so excited to play as Powerpuff Girls. Yeah, I love Powerpuff Girls.
I thought you were gonna say you were excited about the Man Who Laughs alternate costume for Joker.
I'm good. The Man Who Laughs.
I'm good.
I'm not a big Joker guy, but yeah, as a kid, love Powerpuff Girls.
What about Joker Folie Du? You excited about that one?
Not really.
Okay.
I like Lady Gaga. So
yeah,
I'll watch for Lady Gaga. Homeworld 3 is out today for PC. The Rogue Prince of Persia will now launch...
Real quick, sorry, Snow Mike Mike's going to have a review of Homeworld 3 on the Gamescast right after this.
There you go. The Rogue Prince of Persia will now launch on Steam Early Access on May 27th. Indica, with a K, is coming to Xbox Series X and PS5 on May 17th.
Yeah,
it's already on PC.
Remember we were yelling about that the other week when we watched the trailer and we're like, that's crazy, let's play it. Wait, it's not on PlayStation, but it's supposed to be on PlayStation. What the heck? Here it is.
And then there's the last one. Who added this? Where'd it come from? Okay.
It's a tweet.
This is coming from the description of one of their premiere videos or something. That's coming out soon.
Gotcha. So according to the YouTube description, Assassin's Creed Shadows is releasing on November 15th.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Exciting stuff there.
Wait, when is Star Wars out? Oh, August. Okay, so that lines up. That's smart. That's how we talked about it happening.
Yeah.
Cool.
Summer and fall.
Summer and fall. People were looking at me crazy. Like, I was like, referring to August 30th as the fall is a crazy thing. Technically, yes.
Stretching
it's
a bit. Like I would.
When we talk about game releases.
Yeah.
That's in the fall releases of games.
No, it's not. It's summer.
August 30th is summer, technically, yes. But we lump all that together.
A good chunk of September is technically summer as well.
Yeah, but if a studio announced a game is coming this fall, and it got announced for August 30th, we wouldn't look at that and go, "Oh, you lied to us." We'd be like, "Oh, okay." It's in the fall slate of games. It's part of the same. You get what I'm talking about. Though.
It's in an arm's throw. You know, you're right there. You're right. This is stone's throw. Stone's throw.
Say fall, I'm thinking October, November.
September is when I'd start thinking.
September.
Yeah.
Part of September is fall, though.
Of course.
Yeah.
Somebody ought to agree. Yeah, Tundra Boy said August is absolutely summer. Fall doesn't officially kick off till September 21st.
I know this.
Poe's birthday. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like, but if like I feel like when you get to September 1, like Metal Gear Solid 5, I would say that's a fall game, even though it came the first half of
one
September.
day.
Yeah.
Fair enough. That's it for Wii News. All right, insane. Super chats for you. Actually, I don't even know if we have super chats.
Oh, we got a lot of super chats, but we've been all over the map here. We did some of them as we went. Bless, what are your thoughts on the new Childish Gambino album? Says Simply Stube.
I've only listened to it a couple of times. It's the same album from 2020, but it's like remastered and remixed. And I like it. I like it a lot more than I did in 2020. In 2020, it was my least favorite Childish Gambino thing. This time around, I like the mixing a lot better. I like how they've changed up some of the songs. I like that the songs are longer as well. There's been a trend going on for like a decade now with, especially in rap, where they'll call it like microwave music, where people will just put out shorter songs and like a lot more songs on albums just to run those streaming numbers up. And I've missed having longer songs, like longer rap songs especially. And so I like that you have a shorter album, but then also the songs are like 6 minutes long. I'm into that.
Dan super chatted, said a Square Enix a game that doesn't sell expectation. A Square game didn't sell to expectations to Square. Say it ain't so. Maybe Square should readjust expectations. Well, they readjusted a bunch of people's expectations when they laid them off today. Mike said, hey, Bless, I just bought a Roger Ally.
Nice. It's because I was calling it Rod Ally.
No, I like it. Bander SN says, rest in peace to Life is Strange. Come on now, don't say that shit. Come on now. Don't be like, do that. Don't be doing that. Street Shadow says, question, why do we put so much onto first party? I agree we need a better output from first party, but what is wrong with second party? Fun fact, Spidey PS4 wouldn't be first party because Insomniac wasn't owned yet. Fun fact, Street Shadow, you're actually incorrect, because remember there's a whole argument with me and Insomniac about this on Twitter during Spider-Man 1, and they assured me that second party is dead, and that when Sony owns the IP, you are a first party. This is a first party game, which you've now seen first party. Every time you boot up a PlayStation first party and you get the PlayStation Studios logo for a game like Helldivers, guess what? They don't own Arrowhead, but that is
technically
a
this year
studio.
We've gotten 3 first party PlayStation games between Rise of the Ronin, Stellar Blade, and Helldivers 2.
Exactly.
I don't know. I think we put emphasis on it just for like the exclusive nature of it, right? Usually the first party is what's driving the strategy of the console platform. And so I think when you're somebody who's in the weeds of it, like we are, that we're talking about on a podcast every day, it starts to matter more. If you're somebody who's not, though, like in the weeds of it, if you're just like a regular video game player, I don't really think there's reason to put that much stake in first party. For me, it is like, oh, it's another game that's coming out. But that's just me, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it just gets into that usual thing we're talking about then of like, what is the identity of a PlayStation, right? If it's not led by these PlayStation Studios and their first party output and the exclusivity there, then why aren't you playing everything on Steam? Why aren't you playing everything on PC? You know what I mean? Like, you just get everything everywhere.
Now it's time for kindoffunny.com/you're wrong, where you write in, let us know what we got wrong as we got it wrong, so we can correct it for those watching later on YouTube and listening later on podcast services around the globe. Missing Link says 180 is the traditionally accepted year of Jesus' birth. His death is estimated to be around 33 to 3480.
There you go.
Awesome. You as Doom guy, but Jesus is a newborn.
You've gone back in time to protect baby Jesus.
And then Tundra Boy says, it's not been total silence from id since Doom Eternal in March 2020. They released 2 expansions for the game, the first releasing in October of that year, and the second in March 2021. That's a good call. Yeah. I guess when I say silence, I meant just in a brand new game. But that's a good call that they'd made more DLC. And that's it for kindoffunny.com/you're wrong. Of course, this has been Kinda Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday, we run you through the nerdy news you need to know about live on YouTube, Twitch, and on podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, support us with the Kinda Funny membership on Patreon or YouTube to get all of our shows ad-free, watch us record them live, and get a daily exclusive show. You can enjoy the GAMESCAST after this with the crew talking about what they've been playing, and the stream after that being Nick's Pokemon Nuzlocke continued. But until next time, game daily.